In today's random wrestling segment of the week, we'll look at whether or not fans are taking wrestling too seriously. Will Rhea Ripley vacate the Women's Championship? We'll look back at the triple header of action of NXT, TNA, and AEW, and why hasn't WWE confirmed the WrestleMania 43 dates? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ringside Cinema. I am Money Mike, and this is your random wrestling news segment of the week. This is usually on Sundays, but because of the triple header of action that we saw this past Sunday, I wanted to move it to today so that I could talk about it here, and you guys can leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys thought of all the action from this past Sunday. But we are going to start with the more serious topic of the week. It does seem as if Triple H has ruffled the feathers of the IWC. Now, perhaps maybe he's kind of got the IWC to chill out a little bit after Night of Champions, but is he right in the fact that we as wrestling fans take it too seriously? In an interview with the WWE's new best friend, apparently, Stephen A. Smith, this is what Triple H had to say about the fans taking wrestling too seriously. The other aspect of that is I think that people lose perspective of sometimes is we're just fun, man. We're fun, and sometimes people take it too seriously. Sometimes people get too caught up in it, but it's there to entertain, man. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world. If you want to turn off for a couple hours and tune into something cool, then you can just lose yourself in, have a good time. WWE is a place to do it. If you've never seen it live, I'm telling you, come to a live event, come to one of our PLEs, come to TV. There's nothing like it in entertainment. So, do wrestling fans take wrestling too seriously? Yeah, probably, because, honestly, I mean, look, I'm guilty of this as much as anyone else, but we sit here and we criticize every little detail, every little bit of booking that the WWE AEW does, where I do think in a way we have lost that kind of sense of that, yeah, this is meant to be fun. Like, take a look at the IWC and their hatred for Jey Uso, right? Oh no, Jey Uso might win King of the Ring, and yeah, but do you not see the amount of people that are still eating with him every week on Raw? Like, why not have Jey Uso in a big story, in a big moment match like the King of the Ring finals? And I go back to I go to the end here. Triple H talks about going to a show and going to a PLE, going to a live show. I do think in a way, watching wrestling on TV, that's one thing. But going to a wrestling show live, whether it's WWE or AEW, TNA, NXT, whatever it is. Okay, I mean maybe even your local indie promotion. I don't know, but any type of wrestling event, you go to it live. I think there's a different feel. There's a uniqueness about wrestling where going to it live changes, I think, your perspective on wrestling when you see everything live. You go to a WWE show, and yeah, people do not like Jey Uso, but you know what? You go to these events and you become a part of this crowd, this sea of people that are just yeeting away with Jey Uso, and I'm talking from the top of top of the arena all the way to the first floor seats, okay? We've been sitting here, talking about Cody Rhodes, and Cody Rhodes, oh, he should be doing something different. Well, you go to these live events, Cody Rhodes, the fans are still singing his song. They're doing the whoa. Like why would the WWE change their, who their face heels? Like why would they change all that when literally the live audience is telling them a completely different thing of what they want versus what the internet wants? The live crowds, they go there to have fun. And you can see that they're having fun. But then you go online, you go to social media, people hate it. And I think in a way I do agree with Triple H that maybe we have lost our way. Maybe we as fans have lost our way in terms of what wrestling was meant to be. Fun. A fun escape from reality. And I think we have lost that way. So in a way, yeah, I do agree. I think Triple H is 100% right. We are just too busy nitpicking every booking, storyline, everything around the WWE and AEW, that I think we've just completely lost the plot when it comes to professional wrestling. And let's move along to another serious storyline here, because we have not seen our women's champion Rhea Ripley in quite a long time. And that was kind of a big dark cloud hanging over the Queen of the Ring tournament. The fact that the winner, they changed it this year where they got to choose their champion. And if you want to see how Obafemi chose Brock Lesnar instead of a world championship, you can check out my Raw recap up here. But the fact that they could pick whatever champion they want to face, and obviously, the idea that Io Sky, if she won Queen of the Ring, could challenge her best friend was right there for the taking. I mean, that would have been a fun story to look at going into SummerSlam, but we've had no mention of Rhea Ripley. Io Sky immediately picked Liv Morgan as her SummerSlam opponent. And in a perfect world, last night on Raw, when the Judgment Day was ganging up on Io Sky, nobody came to save her. That would have been perfect for Rhea Ripley to come out and save her best friend. We didn't get Rhea Ripley there. I think it would have been a fun story to see Rhea, because we do still have a month or so to go before SummerSlam. So I think it would have been interesting to see Rhea maybe try to change Io's mind and try to get her to choose her over Liv Morgan. And that Rhea wants her to choose her because she's never beaten Io Sky. So it becomes this underlining selfish reason for Rhea to want Io to choose her. And I think there could have been a whole lot to play with there going into SummerSlam before Io made her final decision. But the fact that Io made her decision immediately after winning at Night of Champions, and judging from the SmackDown spoilers, I didn't really see anything in there about an update on Rhea Ripley. It really makes me wonder at this point, what is the nature of the injury that Rhea Ripley has? Because the WWE being so quiet about it does make me wonder if we're going to be in a situation where in a week or two, where she's going to come out and she's going to be giving Nick Aldis that women's championship and vacating it, just like she vacated the women's world championship a couple years ago. SummerSlam is about a month or so away, but WrestleMania 43 is going to be here before you know it. And what I find very, very interesting about WrestleMania 43 is we still have no dates for WrestleMania 43. The WWE ran like two different segment promos talking about WrestleMania 43 coming to Saudi Arabia. And we've known this now for almost a year now that WrestleMania 43 would be taking place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. But here we are, almost July. Like literally, today is June 30th. Tomorrow's July 1st. Happy Canada Day to all my Canadian viewers. But it's one of those things where by now, usually we already know the dates, we know the location, we know everything about WrestleMania. If this was a U.S. show, we've already would have known by now, where this show was taking place and when. People can book their flights or hotels. And yeah, in the event of what happened this year, where they took WrestleMania from New Orleans, moved it to Las Vegas, like we already would have known a new location if they changed the location of WrestleMania. Like we already would have known all that. But it's strange to me that they have not mentioned anything about dates. Yes, there's rumors out there that it might be a 2-night show, it might be a 1-night show, it might happen at the end of March, early April. Like there's a lot of rumors about the dates, but there's nothing confirmed. So that does make me wonder, are we looking at a possibility here that the WWE is going to announce a new location for WrestleMania 43? Now, I talked about this before. You know, Saudi Arabia already canceled their whole live golf thing because they couldn't fund it anymore. So that's something that I've been keeping track of. Where what if they can't fund WrestleMania 43? What if they can no longer fund being able to fund having the money to be able to host WrestleMania 43? They've canceled the live golf thing because of funding issues. So it does really make you wonder, are we looking at a possibility that maybe Saudi Arabia may not be able to fund WrestleMania going next year? And again, Night of Champions, Crown Jewel, those Saudi shows they're one day, they're one night, that's it. But you're talking WrestleMania where Raw, SmackDown, 2 nights of WrestleMania. There's a lot more that goes into a hosting a WrestleMania compared to say just a standard PLE. So Saudi Arabia right now, I'm going to be very interested to see whether or not it will continue to be the host city of WrestleMania, because I would have to think by SummerSlam we are going to have to know a definitive, like, here are the dates. Okay, it's a 1-night event or it's a 2-night event. Like, we need something solid here because it's extremely fishy that the WWE has still not confirmed the dates for WrestleMania 43. And let's close out today's show recapping the crazy Sunday that was TNA, NXT, and AEW Forbidden Door. We're going to start with TNA Slammiversary as we have a new TNA World Champion in Nick Nemeth as he defeated the former champion Mike Santana, who may be on his way to the WWE. His contract is up in a couple of days. I think it will be very interesting to see. He kind of went through NXT, with the partnership with TNA NXT. It will be very interesting to see where he goes, because does Santana go to the main roster? Go to NXT? Because I think with Mike Santana, you could throw him on the main roster easily. You know, right now, Carmelo Hayes, Trick Williams. I think that's the big money match you want to do a SummerSlam. But when you look at the TNA NXT partnership, I do think you could play off the history with Mike Santana going to SmackDown, throwing him right into that U.S. title picture with Trick Williams. Again, playing off their history for the TNA championship. And again, you could throw him in NXT, but I feel like he's already done the NXT part. He doesn't need to go to NXT. And with him being from New York, you could debut him at Madison Square Garden at Saturday night's main event, where Danhausen, maybe he needs a partner to go against the Judgment Day, and well, maybe the Miz and Kit Wilson, they're not able to go, and maybe something happens to Matt Cardona, meaning that he needs to find a new partner. And hey, New York's own Mike Santana makes his main roster debut as Danhausen's partner, which honestly, might get him over right away on the main roster just by being associated with Danhausen. And speaking of superstars that are switching companies, let's talk about the debut of the former Apollo Crews, who made his TNA debut at TNA Slammiversary, entering the Open Challenge from Mustafa Ali for the TNA International title. And also, TNA is debuting a new Knockouts Television Championship, as TNA Knockouts legend Tracy Brooks announced that a TNA Television Knockouts Championship will be coming, and that a tournament will be starting this Thursday, as 16 women will be competing to be the first TNA Knockouts Television Champion. And I will say, I do think it's interesting that we have one superstar from NXT, that being Thea Hale, in this tournament. It's kind of interesting they put one in there. They didn't put more women from NXT into this tournament. Speaking of NXT, let's move right on along here. Kendall Gray is your new NXT Women's Champion, and she got a ring and endorsement from WWE Hall of Famer Kurt Angle. I mean, honestly, the sky's the limit for Kendall Gray. At this point, not only is she the future of the NXT Women's Division, but she's the future of the WWE Women's Division as a whole. I'll put up the tweet here by Kurt Angle congratulating Kendall Gray on winning the championship, and even warning her that his daughter might be coming for her in 8 years. So that's a future main event right there. And looking ahead here at the other results from NXT Great American Bash, Tony D'Angelo, NXT's Super Senior, retained the NXT Championship over Naraku. Zarya defeated Tatum Paxley to retain the Women's North American Championship. And as I said, Tatum, come save your bestie. I think Lyra needs some help. I'm just saying. And if you want more NXT versus AEW, Sunday, August 30th, we have a triple event coming your way, as it was announced during NXT Great American Bash that NXT Heatwave will take place on Sunday, August 30th, but a AAA event will be taking place before that. And yes, this will 100% clash with AEW All in London. Now, obviously, because of the start time difference, and the time difference in London. This means that WWE is running these shows head to head with AEW All In, and I thought we were over this counter booking stuff, but apparently not. I mean, can we all just enjoy all of the wrestling we want without having to do worry about all this counter booking, please? And speaking of AEW, let's close out here. Will Ospreay is your men's Owen Hart tournament winner. Mercedes Moné is your tournament Owen Hart tournament winner for this year, meaning they get title shots at AEW All In. Now, MJF, he will be defending his AEW World Championship against Mark Briscoe tomorrow on Dynamite. I do expect him to win, and I do expect them to repeat MJF and Will Ospreay, but this time for the AEW World title at All In London. I want to close on this here because I want to talk about this circular cage that AEW debuted at Forbidden Door. Let me say this. The more things that AEW can do to stand out from WWE, the more things that can make them unique, the more things that they can sit here and say and promote, hey, you won't find this in WWE, you'll find it in AEW. I think that is going to be better for the long run when it comes for AEW. And this circular cage, I absolutely love this match, and I love the setup, the uniqueness of this cage. Obviously, here when we look at the aerial shot, just the way it surrounds the ring. I think this should be AEW's replacement for War Games or Blood and Guts. Because I thought it was really strange that this was like a Blood and Guts type of match that you would see in Blood and Guts or War Games, and that they were running it in a cage match. And I thought, well, that's interesting. How is that going to work? Because you hear cage match and you just think, like a normal cage like you see in WWE. But when you watch AEW Forbidden Door and you see this round circular cage, it's like, oh, okay, now you're interested. Now you got my attention because I'm like, okay, how is this going to work? Now I want to watch this match to see how this works. And I think it was a great match. I think the use of the circular cage was a great idea. And again, this goes back to just standing out from WWE. And I think if you just let WWE do War Games, let this be your new Blood and Guts type of match every year, I think this will help AEW stand out more from WWE. And I hope next year that we do get a women's version of this match in AEW to go along with the men's version of it. And that will do it for the random wrestling news segment of the week here at Ringside Cinema. So go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button as always, as I do produce weekly wrestling content here on this channel. And let me know your thoughts on everything we discussed here today. And as always, I've been your host, Money Mike, and you've been watching Ringside Cinema.